Welcome to Live Into Your Best Life, a show where people learn how to go from where they are to where they'd like to be in any area of life. If you're looking for a new job, wanting to improve your relationships, or even reclaim your health, Paulie Skaja will share with you a simple formula that can take you on a journey to begin to live into your best life in all areas of life. Now sit back and begin your journey.
Hello, and welcome to Live Into Your Best Life. I'm Paulie Skaja, your show's host, and today I'm here with Tom Aulb. All right, so I'm going to read Tom's intro, then I'm going to give you the background story about him. So Tom Aulb has navigated many work lives. He's been a banker, underwriter, software engineer, business analyst, project manager, data architect, consultant, employee, executive, product owner, founder, and trainer. His diverse career began with a reality-altering experience during a massive layoff at a local company when he was just 21 years old and a banking intern. With 35 years in the professional world, Tom champions the power of small teams, the necessity of continuous improvement, and the importance of paying it forward. Since 2014, he has been on a mission to revolutionize consulting by developing 3 innovative products that blend training, implementation, and consulting into a dynamic 12-week program. Tom believes that the traditional consulting is often performative and wasteful. Tom is also a master of adult learning techniques, which he expertly incorporates into his training courses for Scrum at Scale, practitioner agile leadership, registered product owner, and registered Scrum Master. Discover more about Tom's groundbreaking consulting and training offerings at aulbconsultingllc.com or reach out to him. And I'm going to have all the ways to contact Tom in our show notes. But I've known you like almost as long as you've been an adult employee.
Crazy. Yeah. Isn't that scary? Yeah. I got the gray hairs to prove you knew me when I was a redhead. So
I did. I knew you when you were a redhead.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I know people. Yeah. People that meet me think I'm a blonde now. And all my old friends are like, what happened to your red hair? And it's, yeah, life and 2 daughters and marriage and everything. It's great. But yeah.
I love it.
Though. As long as it stays in place. That's all I want.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I love it. And it's crazy because I've been thinking about how many places you and I have worked together or worked the same places different times. So our careers have followed similar trajectories. Now, my first job, I was a welder and I was a bartender. I do not see those on your list. But other than that, we've got a lot of similarities. It's crazy. What's been your favorite job that you had?
Favorite job? I really think so. I would want to. One that's jumping right to my mind is Daugherty Business Solutions. When they contacted me, I was just finishing up a lot of data warehouse work, establishing the first data warehouse for Boston Scientific, which was Guidant at the time, but now Boston Scientific, and then doing a giant SAP implementation. And as an employee, I was feeling a little constrained. And Daugherty Business Solutions came to me and they're like, hey, we're trying to restart our office in Minneapolis. We've tried it a few times. They're based in St. Louis. We'd really like to try to establish a spot here. And we think you could help us get an anchor to build that. So I was really excited because I was going to get to do consulting. I was going to get to do business development. I was going to get to able to grow a branch of a business that I was really comfortable with. So it was just amazing to do all these different things where we had to figure out a way to land an anchor account. Right? We had to have one account that was going to be able to provide us revenue in order for us to hire more people and grow. And then I was part of the hiring process. We had this amazing process where every Friday we would interview 10 to 12 people a day because we were growing so fast. And then just to watch the place go from 3 people to 130 people was so fun. And it was just, I learned so much and I got to just do so many things I never probably would have been able to do otherwise. It just pushed me in ways I didn't know and I had so much fun. And the people that we did it with, growing a thing from nothing, you go through fire with people that you build these relationships that are just there's no other way to do it. It's just no other way. You just have that bond for life. So I think that was my favorite one. I loved those 6-7 years of super hard work, but it was a blast.
That's very cool. I was one of those 130 people.
You were, yeah.
Which is cool. And small world, my brother-in-law brought me into the company to discover that my husband's cousin's husband was the first employee locally.
Who was that now? What name was that?
Nate?
Oh, Nate Ashford?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, so that's
related to Nate. Oh my gosh, how am I just learning this now? I'm sorry if you told me this in the past and I'm just getting it now. Yes, that's awesome. Yep. Yeah, Kevin came, had a cup of coffee with us, and then got pulled away to Best Buy, and he's killing it over there. I can't believe he's still an employee there. That's
I know, right? Must be a good thing. My son's there too.
Oh yeah, you did tell me about that. Okay, good.
And it was funny because I was with my son and my sister, and my son says, "Yeah, you have no idea how weird it is to be on a work call with Uncle Kev. And then all of a sudden, my aunt shows up on the call. Hi, Taylor, how are you?"
Isn't that worlds colliding right there? It's like my personal life and work life. I want a little separation.
I know. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah. I always like to joke Minneapolis, St. Paul is the biggest, smallest IT world around. If you've been to 2 companies, you've been everywhere and you know everybody somehow, some way. So yeah, you got to be careful of making a good network here to get you around quick.
That's right. Exactly. And your wife used to be my sister's roommate. And oh, yeah, it's fun. So when I showed up at the client that I'm still at, that you were at, and 3.5 years ago, literally, I was just telling someone today that this client is the longest I've ever been employed at one place. So I've been an employee for a very long time, and I've never stayed still. And so that's why consulting is so great for me. Now, I'm still growing, I'm still learning at this client, but it's just really crazy how we have been to so many similar places, and we run in the same circles with people. And for a while I was at Bourne and things like that. And a lot of the same folks were the company that markets me now all came from there. And so like you said, it's a really small community, even though it's a big metropolitan area.
Yeah.
I think
we find people that we gel with and that we make each other better, and we have fun with each other. And so, I want to keep working with those people. So how can we keep us all together, even if we're in a different total environment? Let's do that. So yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things too that I love about you and how I've watched you through your career, is because you're always looking at what's next. What's that next opportunity? How do I stay ahead of the curve? How do I avoid becoming irrelevant, right? How do I keep things rolling? So I'm going to start with Next Stop Your Dream Job. So this is the book that I wrote last fall, and Tom was one of my guest writers. And chapter 2, Reveal What You Really Want, was the focus. And I love how you shared here that a lot of people think, ooh, I want to be a this, right? And then they get that thing. And even though they got that thing and it might not be perfect, they feel like, oh, but I got to stay there because I worked so hard and everybody expects. And in the intro to that chapter, you talk about how I got that thing that I really wanted and discovered it wasn't quite what I. Talk a little bit about your path to where you are and some of those pivot moments that have really helped open your eyes to shift instead of staying stuck.
Love to. Let me start. You referenced it in the introduction, but I'd like to share the story of what happened when I was 21 years old, because it was so seminal in kind of my adult DNA of work. So I'm a junior going to be a senior in college. I'm interning at a bank in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's a smaller town, so I know a lot of the people that are at our bank just from family and all of that. And so a gentleman comes in one day, and you can just tell something is off. And so we go and we sit down, we talk, and he just tells me he's just been laid off. And he's mid to early 40s. So again, as a 21-year-old, mid 40s seems really old, right? Which is just ridiculous, but different story. And he's just like, I've been with this company since I was 19. I thought I was going to spend my entire career here. And now I don't know what to do. I've got kids in high school getting ready to go to college. I've got a mortgage. I've got car loans, got all of this. And it was just, he just dumped it all out there. And as a 21-year-old, I'm just like, oh my goodness, I could feel his pain. And I was heartbroken. So we talked and we're like, okay, we can do a few things financially here and there. We helped him just get to a spot where he was at least going to be comfortable for a few months, and we can keep working on things from the financial side. But I could just see emotionally he was just drained. He just didn't know what was coming next. At this point in my life, I'm this optimistic college person. Oh yeah, I got the world at my feet. I'm going to be graduating college and jobs are just going to be falling all over themselves for me. And this just hit me of, I don't know where loyalty could come from in the workplace. This person that I was working with gave a lot, and all of a sudden, without any warning to them, which we could talk about that too, if we could have seen warning signs, they were out on the street. We're walking back out of the area we were talking through the lobby, and there's 12 other people sitting in the lobby waiting to talk to us because they were part of the company of 3,000 people that got laid off all on the same day. Wow. So here again, I was 21-year-old, and I'm looking at this group of adults that are lost or just feeling lost at this moment in time. And it scared the heck out of me. It just scared me. So I don't ever want to be in that position. I always wanted to just have this, I wanted to be ahead of the change curve, not behind the change curve, because I was just always what I coined the term, like the fear of obsolescence. I didn't want a fear of becoming obsolete. I didn't want that. So I took that right into my careers. I started again like in banking, and I had a blast in banking, but it was the early 90s and consolidation was happening like crazy. Big banks were just swallowing up small banks. And if you didn't have a certain name or a certain title, you were going to be the first one out. And since I was usually the more junior person, I was always at risk. And luckily had this friend have a contact at Computer Sciences Corporation. So Jeff Anderson, shout out to Jeff Anderson, because he's the one that got me on this path. He's like, hey, I think you'd be a good consultant. Why don't you come to talk to us and see if we can get you into this IT thing? And I've always loved IT. I was doing computer classes in high school and in college, but I didn't know where I could take it as a job. And CSC really pointed me to this consulting thing where it's problem solving. You can make an immediate impact on people that need help. And then you can also teach them how to continue to work that impact or take benefit of that impact when I'm long gone. And I loved that. And one of the things I found was I have a short attention span. I get bored easily.
Which is why you're a great consultant.
That's maybe, and a bad employee, probably. But it's like there's this 18-month window in my head, or time frame in my head. So I want to learn a new task, master it, then teach it to the next person so then they can run with it. And I can go move on to the next thing about every 18 months or so. Yeah. That hasn't been always the greatest idea, because sometimes that's bitten me in the rear end, but it keeps me sharp. And that's what I want. I want to stay sharp. I want to stay valuable. I want to be looked at as, hey, whatever we have, Tom can come in and help add value and make the situation better than when he left it. So going back to your question was, I always wanted to be an executive. I wanted to be in the C-suite. I thought that sounds like the coolest thing. So at Daugherty Business Solutions, I hit a ceiling, and I was told, and thankfully, hey, this is as high as you're going to go. You're not going to make the branch manager job that we know you want. We just don't see it for you. So I appreciated them being honest, but it was like, okay, great. I've got to find something else. So the University of Minnesota had an opportunity as an associate chief information officer. And I was really intrigued by that. I was like, oh, great title, great university. I was going to be in charge of really big programs. And I was going to go to a mission-based organization that's really serving our state and serving students. And I just thought that was going to be amazing. Went there, and it just wasn't quite like that. It was very administrative. It wasn't as much about the students. It was about kind of territorialism, and there was more Game of Thrones like activities at the state of Minnesota. Sorry, not the state of Minnesota. Let's edit that. At the University of Minnesota than I saw in any other corporate environment. just a lot of just protection of budgets and people and this and that, regardless of whether it was the right thing to do at a bigger level. So I was only there for 18 months before we decided, yeah, I'm a round peg in a square hole. Let's move along. And then I was able to become a chief operating officer for an agile training company, which I thought was going to be amazing too. I've never really been on the operations side and growing a consulting practice again from scratch. And again, that was great, but it just, I was too far away from the work. I realized I need to be closer to the work that's actually happening, that's impacting customers, it's impacting people, more than making decisions from an ivory tower and then everybody else is executing it. And I maybe hear about how it goes in 18, 20 months. I need faster feedback than that. So that's when in 2014, I had the stupid idea of, I'm going to do this on my own. I think I can do this all on my own. And went out and hung out my own shingle and have been consulting as an agile product coach and trainer ever since then. And now that I've been my own boss for, was it 8 years now?
10 years.
10 years? Oh my gosh, 10 years. Thank you. You know what? I maybe should look into that and have a little celebration, but I just don't know how I could do it any different because I have to run the business side. I run my website. I run LinkedIn posts and all that kind of stuff. And I get to talk to people like you, but I also get to work with companies that are actually trying to make change happen. So I get to scratch all of my itches is what I'm trying to say, Paulie. And that's a really long answer. So I hope that helps though.
I love that though. But I really appreciate how you went after what you thought you wanted and you realized maybe it's not what I really thought it was. Being a coach is not as easy as people think. And I know, right? And there's a person that I absolutely love in my life who thought that it would be really fun to become a coach. And when they got a job being a business coach for a company, they would come home and they would be like, so they won't listen to me and they won't do what I tell them to. No, you can't. It's got to be theirs. Or we had this really great conversation and they said yes, and they're not taking action. You're right. That happens. Or in all the scenarios you and I are so used to, and 6 months later, whatever, this realization of this coaching thing is hard. What made you want to go into it? You make it look so fun. You make it look so easy. Okay, wait. I've actually been coaching since I was a project manager because I didn't know any better. I was never trained how to be a project manager. I just fell into it, and I literally tell people it's like running a party, and I'm really great at throwing parties. And so I look at the end result as like the event, right? And so what are all the steps to get you to this end product or this deliverable? Or that's how I always looked at it. So I always did project management with the agile mindset before it was a thing. And I'm sure you did the same thing from your perspective of, let's bring people together. Let's figure out what they really want. People don't see everything we've gone through in the last how many decades that have created this. But one of the things I appreciate about you, and one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you today, is because you don't have to just go on a journey because it looks cool or it sounds cool. And if it feels right, do it. And then if you discover, but this isn't really feeling good, then find something else. Or like you did, make your own thing. I was just gonna say, so tell us a little bit about what your own thing is, but you say what you were going to and then.
No problem. I know we're mind melding, so I was trying to estimate where the question was going to go or where we wanted to go. But so I had to do a lot of soul searching to find what drives me, and it's serving others, it's making progress, and it's seeing results. And then taking all of that and putting it back in the blender and starting over again. Okay, what did I just learn that I can now try to do a slight bit better the next time? Because that's the fun. I try to make it a game like for me of what did I goof up yesterday that I can do a little bit better today? Once I realized that, I figured, and as a consultant, I knew there's value in that. So I had to find something, let's just be completely honest, I had to find something that could pay the bills
Okay.
I like to say my mortgage banker doesn't take hugs, so I have to make money somehow. I had to find some way to make money. And then within that, I tried to learn the rules of the system, the rules of the game, and
Mhm.
then figure out where do my skills fit into those rules and how can I use those rules to my advantage. I really had found out, like in consulting, if again, hopefully I'm not turning off anybody that's listening, but if you're helping produce revenue for the organization, you're an asset. And with that, more opportunities will come. And when you get an organization, and a lot of times as consultants, we're brought in to do something that either they don't want to do or they don't know how to do, or both, usually both. And we come in and we bloom where we're planted, even if it's something we've done maybe dozens and dozens of times and we can do it in our sleep. But we come in and we do it and we make it better, and then we teach them to do it so then they can go forward and continue to do it. But then my secret is to look at them and say, hey, you just saw me do this thing for you. While I've been here, I've also noticed there's these other couple of things over here are maybe not working the way you would want to. Would it be okay if I helped you with those things? And they look at me, is this a trick? I'm like, no, am I me? I know you. I know your organization. I think I can help. And they're like, that would be fantastic. Let's do that. And so
Mhm.
you just keep adding things to your client or your employee or whoever that you add value, and they'll keep offering opportunities to you. But
Mhm.
sometimes you got to bring the opportunity to them and remind them to say, hey, I've heard a couple of meetings really talking about this thing that's bothering you. I think I could help with that. Would you like me to help? And a lot of times they're just like, wow, that would be great. Let's do
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
So that's my DNA was, can I figure out how to make a little bit of money? Can I figure out how to do what I want to do with clients I want to work with, people I want to work with? And I always thought, Paulie, if things blew up completely, I'll go back to being an employee. I could be a project manager at lots of places. I can do other things as an employee, but I really wanted to give this thing a go on my own and see if I could spin all the plates at the same time and keep this thing running. And so far, knock on wood, 10 years in, it's a success for me.
It's going good.
Yeah.
And one of the things when I've seen you in action, and even in your everyday life, you're always looking at what can I do to continuously improve? What can I do to make myself better, to learn? Even you and I have had conversations because some things might go south and it's, wait, that's not what I intended, or that's not right. And I think that's one of the things I appreciated when we were working on this last contract together was that not everybody thinks like us. And I think the benefit of knowing each other in so many different settings is that the mind meld thing, like we get where each other's coming from, but we can also see each other's blind spots to help. And I think that's sometimes what we're able to do as well when you're seasoned with so many different experiences and so many different levels across so many different industries. We can help someone see their blind spots because we've seen it so many places.
Right.
And we have practice in helping people see what they're not ready or can't see. And then it gets scary. Oh, he's going to tell me all the things that are wrong with me. Maybe not, maybe. And then they get to choose what they want to work on. But that's part of what we do is you reveal it all. So then I think that's a question. Part of your job is to reveal what the problems are and then help people figure out what do they want to work on. But it really needs to come from them so that the progress happens. How do you do that?
Whenever I start working with somebody new for the first time, I try to set the boundaries that any final decisions of what we're going to take action on are in their court. They get to make all the final decisions. But I do want to be an outside observer that just provides them with all of the data points that they could possibly have so they could make the best possible decision. But then I commit to them, whatever decision they make, whether I agree with it or not, I'm 100% in their corner. And we're going to do whatever we can to make that work for them. Sometimes that works out. Sometimes they see something that I didn't, and it absolutely goes the way that they hoped. And that's great. I've just learned something. So I'm like, I've gotten better, Paulie, as I've gotten older of, yeah, maybe I see this differently than you, but that's okay. But let me go on your journey a little bit with you because maybe you're going to show me something that I wouldn't have been exposed to. So I've tried to take that much more to heart, especially in the last 10 years. I think I've tried to get so much better at that because I could be a little bit more forceful. I'm a data-driven person. So if there's data that shows me that this option versus this option is clearly the more superior option, like, why wouldn't we go that way? I had to learn the different phases of the way people accept information and make decisions, and we're not all data-driven. So I had to learn, if I have more of an emotional driven person over here, I have to put the argument together differently. If somebody else is just a processor and they need time, they need to talk to other people. So I had to just keep adding these new little nuances to the toolkit in order to serve them the best, because I'm not serving a mirror of myself, even though I know this is how I would do it. But I have to remember they're not me. They don't have my experience. They don't have my drive or desires or whatever. So I have to try to be better, get in their seat. Tell me what motivates you. Where do you want this to go? And then let's just talk about the pros and cons. And then what's the smallest thing we could try to make progress? And with the fastest way we could do it, then let's give it a go. Let's put a time frame to it. Let's see it. And then when we're done with that time frame, let's just take a completely objective view at it and say, how'd that go? What do you think? You want to keep going with that? Do you want to double down? Or do you want to refactor some things and go in a slightly different direction? But that way we're biased towards action instead of just talk and nothing ever happens. So it's trying to get people that are maybe not as comfortable with change as you and I are to just take the first step of change and then realize, okay, I'm safe. So they take the bigger step. And so I really think in our world, we need to make that environment safe for them to make that change where maybe it hasn't been in the past. And then that way, eventually we don't need, I love it when people finally say, Tom, we're good. I don't need you anymore. I've got this. That's like my favorite conversation. I'm like, great, let's just keep in touch and let me know how the journey goes. That's what I live for more than anything, is when somebody says, hey, we're good. I've got this. And we shake hands and part ways.
I call that Nanny McPhee myself out. So I tell teams, my job is to Nanny McPhee myself out. Anyone who doesn't understand that reference, Nanny McPhee is one of my favorite kids shows. And the focus is, when you need me but don't want me, I'm there. When you want me but don't need me, I move on. And when I share that with my teams or leaders or whomever, they think that I'm a little crazy. And then all of a sudden we get to that moment where I'm like, yeah, you don't need me anymore. And they're like, oh, Nanny McPhee. So it's that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Without the warts and all the other stuff that goes along with it, right? Yeah.
Exactly. As you were talking, I did some math. And because in order to be good at this coaching thing that you've chosen to do, and the training stuff that you do, and helping clients of all walks of life, all leadership levels, working with other consultants who come from all different places, it's literally a melting pot of the types of folks you get to work with on a daily basis. And in order to do that, you have to have some pretty high emotional intelligence. And I know you do. And I was thinking about, and I don't know if you've put this together at all. So you've got a couple kids.
Yep.
And your kids were the tween early teens when you started your business.
Correct.
And those are some of the most difficult ages because of all the things they're going through, and their parents don't know anything. And you have to find a way. And I tell people that helping children get through those challenging, transformative years is one of the most amazing experiences to help you with your emotional intelligence, if you see that. So I would ask, did the kids have any influence on how you learned how to be even better at what you do? I know they've trained you as a good dad, but.
Yes, definitely helped. And so I have 3 amazing women in my life. My wife, Marianne, my daughters, Keely and Cassidy. And they're absolute, just spitfires. They don't let me get away with anything, which is great. This is what I want. We have such a great dynamic relationship. We love each other to death, but we also challenge each other. We have really hard conversations, but in a really good way. But I think having two daughters as a male, it's a different perspective. And having a wife that's an executive in a male dominated industry, it's a different perspective. So all of those things has helped me like continue to see things from different angles. When you hear a problem statement or you hear somebody ask for help, right away, I think I can see a line through that problem and try to help us get to it. I try to practice more patience and saying, okay, yep, that is one way, but hold on, let's think about these from a couple different angles. My daughters helped me understand these different angles that they were looking at the world through differently. And Marianne, my wife, I do the same thing. When I have a problem with work, I go to her a lot of times and this is what I'm seeing and help me talk through this. And she absolutely is, are you thinking about this? Are you thinking about that? And it just helps ground me in staying out of my own ego of I know the answer. I should just give the answer immediately instead of, okay, I think I have an idea for you, but let me marinate on this for just a little bit. Give me an hour or two. Let me talk through this with some people, and then get back to you with a couple of options that I think would work and why they might work one way or another. So they definitely taught me more patience, and they taught me how to, I think, communicate more clearly and concisely, because they're listening to their dad. So dad, get to the point as quickly as you possibly can. Okay. And then let's move on to the next thing. So they didn't need to hear the old exposition. They just needed to hear the meat of what we were talking about and then getting to it. So no, being a parent, and I don't know about you too, but I think being a brother and I think being a son, helping my parents do certain things as they got older and they weren't native to technology and you had to help them through that. And you're the IT person for your family for lots of stuff. And so you had to realize, wow, these people have never touched a computer, and how do I help them, set these up and maximize it, utilize it. And again, you just had to figure out how can I communicate in a way that's going to work with them. And so I think Craig Larman one time, so co-founder of Less, I took his training and he made an offhanded comment during just a break. And it really riled me up at the moment, but I totally get it now. I was maybe my mid 40s when I took his Less practitioner class, which I highly recommend to anybody. And he's like, nobody should be a consultant or coach unless they're over 50. And I was hurt. I'm like, come on, I'm a good consultant. I'm not quite there yet. But when I asked him about it, you just don't have enough life experience yet, work and life experience to turn that into the next thing. And I'm sure there's exceptions to that. But once I hit 50, I'm like, oh yeah, this makes sense. I completely agree with Craig now. I'm completely in agreement. But I think that's the hard part for some of the younger coaches that I work with. It's just they haven't maybe sat in enough seats over their career. So when they're talking with somebody, they can go, ooh, I've had that situation rise up. This is how I've seen, this is how I dealt with it, and this is how it worked out, versus theoretically, this is how we could go after it. So there's that delicate balance, but nothing beats experience, Paulie, in my mind. And the only thing that gives you experience is time and scars and just trying something and failing a bunch of times.
I think, so I was having a conversation yesterday, a couple of our common friends. So we were out on their boat last night and just chatting about what we do, what's it like being a coach. And the gal said her stylist's husband has said, you've listened to people and helped them with their life problems for so many years when they sit in your chair that you should become a coach. And so she quit being a stylist and has started her coaching business. And she has no training. She just has a stylist's chair. So when it's just funny how people, and I don't necessarily agree that 50 is the right age, but I do agree that you need to have enough experience. And I think one of the reasons I've had different results with the teams and organizations I've coached in is that not only do I bring that practical business coaching, but I also am a life coach. And I have a degree in organizational leadership, which is focused primarily on the psychology, right? And so I marry all of that into this really cool blend with a lot of life experience. And I went about it backwards. A lot of people think you need to get that training first, but mine was just life, right? And then people would say, are you certified in this? No, but I could be. And then I might or I might not. And now I've got all kinds of certifications. It took until 2020 before I got my degree. And nobody knew I didn't have my degree. And now I do. And I've been asked once if I have a degree. And I've had to prove with my picture of my diploma. But it's just really fascinating how many people go out, get that training, because I know you're a trainer as well, just like me, get that training and then think they're an expert. And I think you hit on it, is that you have to have training, you have to have real world experience, and you have to have experience across multiple dimensions in order to be a really great consulting coach, maybe.
Right. No, and I think so too. And obviously there's maybe exceptions to all of that. It's just, there's no way of faking it.
Right.
If
Exactly.
if you don't. And like you said, yeah, you and I have came from different angles to the same thing that we're doing. And you're amazing at it, but you came from a different angle than I did, but we rounded the same circle.
Exactly.
Of all the circle, it's a similar one, but I just started in a different quadrant than you did.
That's right.
Here we are. Just, I think you and I smile when other people are smiling. When we see other people's, I try to, same thing, when you're having that conversation, what's a coach or what's a scrum master? What do they do? And I'm like, picture this. There is a big award ceremony for the best team at the company, and your team happens to win it. That team goes up on a stage, bright lights are on them, they get their award, they get the applause. We're standing off stage behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
Applause dies down, curtain closes, the team runs over to us and gives us hugs and high fives. Couldn't have done it without you. We don't need the spotlight. We just need our team to thrive and feel great about what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's what makes me feel good.
That's
That's
right.
where I want to be. So
That's
I
right.
hope I think that gets to the end of it at the end of the day. As a coach, if you want to be right all the time, coach probably isn't going to be your best spot. Because sometimes you may be right, but you have to let the other person make that decision, and you got to support them, and then not be the one to tell them, I told you so. But to say, okay, great. What did we learn? What did we learn? I did that same mistake. Yep. Now what? Now what do you want to try next? And then when you see them flourish, then that's that warm feeling in your chest of, okay, I made a difference today. This is great.
Yes. Yes. And that is what fills you up. I think that's just a huge thank you for that. That's perfect. And people will say, why would you do that? And that means, yeah, you probably shouldn't be a coach. I love that.
And that's great. And that's okay.
Exactly.
There's lots of stuff you can do that absolutely adds value. It's just like you were saying in my little excerpt. What is it?
Yep.
What motivates you? What gets you out of bed? What can pay the bills? What can you have some fun with? And what can you challenge yourself so that 20, 30 years from now, you've evolved in a couple of different ways, but you're still the same person, but you've just figured out new ways to make that value happen for others.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so now I've got an interesting question has popped into my head. And so in chapter 2, the focus was all about what do you really want to do? And I'm just curious, when you were a kid, what were some of the things you liked to do when you played?
Playing, so I played every sport possible. I was still of the generation where you just rode bikes with your friends in a smaller town in Sioux Falls. Like you could just leave at 8:30 in the morning with your friends on a bike, and mom knew you just had to be home by the time the streetlights came on, and everything, no nothing, no tracking. It was just, yeah, you'll come home when you're hungry or you're hurt. That's what mom thought. So it was figuring out ways to just, with what you had, make some fun with it. But then in the more of the organized sports, what was really unique was I gravitated towards singular positions on a team. So I was a goalie for most things. I was a goalie in hockey. I played golf competitively. Those are singular kind of, goalie on a team. it's really important. But in goalie in hockey, you're really not interacting with the other players. Just people are shooting pucks at you all the time and yelling at you when you let one go past you. And then in golf, you're out there, just it's you and the golf course and a score, and you have to just try to figure out. But I love those moments because I'm right on that edge of extrovert and introvert. So I can absolutely be an extrovert, but after a long day of training, I need a dark room for 30 minutes to just be by myself. And I just really noticed I could practice being a goalie all by myself. I could get better at being a goalie all by myself, and I could see the outcomes and I could see the rewards of that. And same with golf. And so that was it was this challenge I wanted to be part of a team. I didn't always want to be alone, but I wanted to have my own little niche. So I don't know if you're looking into the psyche of me that way, Paulie. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I'm a round peg even in the square hole.
I love that because, okay, so now think about it. If you step back and you look at it, you said, I'm an individual contributor, but I enjoy helping the team achieve things. You are a coach, right? That's exactly what a coach does. You could work for a company if you wanted to, but you created your business 10 years ago and you're thriving because you have these opportunities where you get to be an individual contributing to something greater, helping make it good, and then you move on to the next sport, if you will. So then I was curious because most people, like I'll use my son as an example. He loves solving problems. And he loves to figure out different ways and new ways. And he loves to figure out, okay, if I can't figure this out on my own, what are the tools I need so that I can figure it out with some help, right? So all about problem solving. He's working towards cybersecurity. He wants to become a white hat. I always knew he was going to do something brilliant in IT, but so that's why I because as kids, we usually gravitate towards the type of skills that are going to help us as adults. We just don't realize it. And so that's fun. So thank you. All right, Tom.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. No. Sorry. Are we at time? Do we need to?
You say we don't have a time.
Okay. Because I like going back to kind of one of those earlier questions about staying ahead of the curve. I was lucky. So like with Taylor and cybersecurity, early in the 2000s, I saw the web coming. And I got right in front of that with bestbuy.com and target.com. And then I saw this thing of data warehousing. It's, oh my gosh, all this data, we have to be able to figure out a way to make this actionable. And I got in front of that. And then I saw agile. Ooh, I got to get in front of that. So it was like, those are the greatest things happening. When I saw cybersecurity, I saw that and I looked into it. But what scared me was I could never go to sleep without thinking of somebody's hacking us, somebody's doing something. We've solved all the problems. The bad people are out there doing something even worse. Mm-hmm. And I steered away from that because I was just like, I just don't know if I wanted that much anxiety in my life.
Yeah, no,
I know we need people to do that, but it was just like, I was just one of those things where I'm like, ooh, I thought that could be a long-term opportunity for a career. But I was just like, nope, I just didn't think that was going to work with my level of anxiety and my perfectionism.
Yeah.
I didn't think cybersecurity and I would work out well. So again, I was just finding something that I knew would be cool to do, but I'm like, nope, not for me.
Yeah. And I love that you had that awareness instead of going down a path that was going to make you unhappy and then have to pivot again. You just, okay, I have that awareness. That is perfect. I love it. All right. How can people get a hold of you and why would they want to?
If you are looking for help with kind of any change initiative, whether it's agile or product or just how do I build the best team possible? I believe that the core of our organizations are at the team level, and high-performing teams are the currency of the 21st century. So I urge organizations to do whatever you can to build as many of these high-performing cross-functional teams that you can just throw problems at and then just get out of their way and just watch them do their magic. So I have 3 12-week products that focus on this exact problem. I don't like traditional consulting because traditional consulting is we come in for 90 days and we do this giant assessment. We talk to all these people. They tell us everything that's wrong with the organization that you already know about. And we put together this really slick PowerPoint presentation and we show you everything that's wrong that you've told us. We haven't experienced, but you've just told us. And then we put this laundry list together of things that we can do to help you. Oh yeah, and here's a big number at the bottom of that of how much it'll cost you for us to help you. Now you've invested 90 days with us and you've already paid us to do this assessment. And now the idea is, do I either pay that dollar amount to help you fix these things, or do I start over with a whole nother company and I'm 90 days behind? I just think that is so wasteful. So instead, with a small group of people at a team level or leadership level, we break down this work into 90 days where we're going to do 6 2-week sprints, where we're going to do team forming, and we're going to start working on a product right away, real world stuff that we're going to try to fix within our first 2 weeks that we then learn from. And then we'll do a little bit more training in sprint 2 and continue to work on that problem until we've figured it out. And then hopefully by the end of these 90 days, you are going to have not only solved maybe 3 or 4 problems, maybe found 5 or 6 new problems, but you've got this fully formed team that's trained, that's done real work, and now understand how the process works and how they work as a team. So they're confident now to go on their own, with or without me, to continue to keep solving the problems that the organization needs them to solve. So in 90 days, I really just want them to feel the company's gotten value from those 90 days. The team has learned a baseline skill that they can take wherever they want to go. And that the organization is now seeing, is this for us? Do we really want to do this change in a very controlled way? Because sometimes you and I see they try to do this giant change and it's just unsustainable. It's just we collapse under its own weight. Here we can do it really small and systematically, and then measure the results to understand, wait, does this work with what we're trying to do overall as a company? So the level of investment's in the right spot, and the outcomes are absolutely transparent. So we can figure out, does this work for us within 90 days or not?
I love that.
Then if you don't like the 90 days, you only got a couple of days, I've got training courses that you can take at Scrum at Scale. I really think that is the next thing that's on the Agile journey. The Agile adoption phase and acknowledgement phase is pretty much done. And now organizations either need to figure out, hey, we're going to keep doing this in pockets and we'll be okay with that, or we're going to scale this over the entire organization. And then that's where the scaling class comes in, because you have to look at things completely different. Or the third option of, this doesn't work for us. We're good. We're just going to keep doing things the way we've done it, and it's successful, and we'll keep doing it that way. So if you're looking for those kinds of trainings, I can help. And then specific roles around Agile leader, product owner, Scrum master, would love to have you in one of my public classes, because we blend a lot of fun with a lot of theory and a lot of exercises from real world mistakes I've made. And you get to try to see the problem I was trying to solve, or some of my colleagues were trying to solve, and see how you would do it differently, and learn from each other that way. So I absolutely invite you to reach out to me through my website or through LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. It's Thomas Aulb on LinkedIn. And it's tom@auldllc.com if you need anything. I would love to just have any conversation that you feel like having.
And I will put the links in the show notes so that people can just click and go. You mentioned something, and I'm going to wrap with this, but what I love is you've got that real world experience. You've got options that'll meet people where they are and take them where they want to be. And you're about the transformation, not just about the theory. And I really appreciate that, because a lot of people don't know the difference. So of course, I'm going to say, reach out to Tom. And then if anyone's curious, Tom and I make a great team. And so we can just tag team and make everybody's life so much more fun.
That would be a joy. That would be absolutely a joy, Paulie.
Tom, thank you so much for making time. I really appreciate it. Tell the girls hi, give them a hug. And for all the listeners, please reach out, learn more about what Tom has to share on LinkedIn. He's more active than he's leading on, but regularly he has really great insights and tips from his past or from his current circumstances or from some of those that others of us are going through. And follow him on LinkedIn and learn even from what he posts, because there's so many rich nuggets. And then some of us share thoughts on what we've experienced too. So just learn from us and then take what you can use and then continue to grow and improve your own lives as well. Until next time, please, if you like the show, then give us 5 stars, share it with your friends, subscribe to the show so that you don't miss a week. You hit it every week because this comes out every Wednesday. And just add comments. If there's something also that you'd like to hear more about, please drop me a note so that we can get that on the show or interview you and see where we can take other people's journey. Until next time, Tom, thank you very much. And listeners, enjoy the adventure and enjoy living into your best life.
Thank you for listening to Paulie Skaja, your show host for Live Into Your Best Life. Check out the show notes and visit her at paulieskaya.com to learn more and continue your journey. Until next week, enjoy the adventure.